Hey, Raymond here from the Beginner Photography Podcast. You know, whether you're a hobbyist or you plan to take photography full time, having a solid backup solution to protect your photos is essential. So today I want to talk about backing up your photos. Today we're going to talk about a workflow that will not only keep your photos protected, but can also grow with you as a photographer. So let's get into it. As digital photographers, we create. Sometimes it's something artistic, and sometimes it's just a documentation of time. But regardless of whatever it is that you are creating, we all create the exact same thing: digital data. And that digital data needs protected. And I get it. The idea can seem tedious and scary. What if you choose the wrong option and lose everything? Or maybe you're already backing up your data. At least you think you are. Beginners have a natural progression when it comes to backing up their photos. Phase 1, you know that you should be backing up your photos, so you just go down to the local big box store and see hard drives ranging from $100 to thousands of dollars. You get overwhelmed, so you just buy the cheapest drive, you take it home, you plug it in your computer, and now you think that you're all safe and backed up. Well, you're not. Backing up your data is incredibly important because hard drives are essentially ticking time bombs. Whoa. Not like a literal bomb with like an explosion, but with hard drives, it's not a question of if they will die, it's a question of when will they die. And take all those precious photos of yours to the grave with it. Apps like Apple's Time Machine or Windows Backup copy all the files from your computer onto the external hard drive. Nothing's wrong with that at first. But real quick, we gotta talk about that cheap hard drive that you just bought from your local store. I've been there. When shopping for hard drives, there's a lot of options. I bet you even saw drives of the same size for wildly different prices. And then you thought if you just bought the cheapest drive, then you're going to be saving a ton of money. Well, you're dead wrong. The cheaper the hard drive, the cheaper the build quality. And the higher the likelihood that it's going to fail. But Raymond, it was only $100. I'll just buy another one when it dies. Okay, let's say that you're a wedding photographer who only shoots 10 weddings a year for a very modest $1,000. That drive is no longer worth $100, it is worth more than $10,000. Because if you were to lose any of the photos on that drive, you would be on the hook to give the couple back every penny that they paid you. In fact, you might even argue that those photos are literally priceless, as to recreate them you would have to rent the venue again, you would have to fly family out from whoever knows what part of the country, you would have to rent half a dozen or so tuxes, bridesmaid dresses, you'd have to get catering again, and the list goes on and on. Suddenly spending just a few more dollars on a hard drive doesn't seem like such a bad idea. But even if you spend a few more dollars on a hard drive, that drive will eventually fail too. So what are you supposed to do? Well, you're in luck, because this is where my favorite piece of technology that I own comes in to save the day. This is a Drobo. Think of it as a fancy box that can hold up to 5 hard drives, and it will split all of your information across each drive. Imagine that one of those beautiful green lights turns red. That means that one of your hard drives has failed. No problem. You simply pop it out of the Drobo, you put in a brand new hard drive, and with Drobo's magical Beyond RAID technology, it will simply rebuild all of the information that is on that failed hard drive onto the new one. So you won't lose any of your important photos. I know, right? When I first realized that I needed to do something to consolidate the half dozen or so external hard drives on my desk, I started to look into a RAID system. And very quickly, Drobo caught my attention. Growing up, I was considered a techie. I went to a school called Technology High School. I was in Network Security Club. I built countless computers for myself and my friends. So I have a pretty good idea of what I'm doing when it comes to computers and storage. So as a photographer, a business owner, a father, and a husband, the last thing that I want to do is spend a weekend trying to figure out some sort of storage problem if something went wrong, rather than spending that time with my family. So the first thing that caught my attention is that Drobo really doesn't make storage and security complicated. I found that the Drobo was as simple as plugging in the hard drives and then just forgetting about it. With other RAID systems that I looked at, I needed to worry about installing drivers on the enclosure and dealing with crazy software made for computer engineers who just deal with this stuff day in and day out. And I don't have time for all that, because I don't have time to learn and mess with it when something goes wrong. The Drobo offered another huge advantage for me, and that is expandability. Traditional RAIDs make you replace a failed drive with another drive of the same size to rebuild it. Well, what happens 2 or 3 years from now when you need more storage and the price of larger hard drives is cheaper than what it is today? Well, you're simply stuck with those small drives unless you figure out some way to migrate all your data while putting in larger hard drives to rebuild the system and then putting it back. With the Drobo, I can mix and match hard drives of different sizes, which is great for when you see that huge 12 terabyte hard drive on sale for Black Friday. It doesn't matter that all the other hard drives are only 3 or 4 terabytes. Drobo will make it work. What this really means is that the Drobo will let me expand my storage needs as I grow as a photographer and shoot more weddings or portrait sessions. Now look, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. I realize that the Drobo might seem expensive, but just the idea of having to call a bride and tell her that I lost all of her wedding photos from the day that she had spent more than a year planning, a day that she had been dreaming of since she was a child, the day that her and her new husband joined their lives together publicly in front of the world, it just makes me sick to my stomach. So much so that I would pay practically anything to avoid it. And the obvious backlash that I would get from the bride's family and friends and the terrible reviews that they would leave me, which would ultimately cost me a ton of business. Think about it, you're not going to trust a wedding photographer who has half a dozen 1-star reviews. You're just not. That would affect me for years to come. I trust Drobo to keep my photos and ultimately my business safe. I would personally rather not wait until I have a problem to come up with a solid backup strategy. The cost of storage is just pennies in the bucket compared to the price of losing all of your photos and the stress and the anguish that would come along with that. I'm not sure who said it, but whoever said it was very smart. They said, the most expensive thing that you'll ever buy is something that you'll have to buy twice. So just buy once and buy right. Alright guys, that's it. If you guys have any questions about the Drobo, I left links to Drobo's website in the description below, as well as links to Amazon where you can pick it up for yourself if you're interested, as well as the exact same hard drives that I use in my Drobo as well. Guys, that's it. I want you to get out there. I want you to shoot as much as possible. I want you to go, have fun, be safe. Keep your photos safe too. That's it. Alright guys, until next time, see you then.